What's up, friends? Max Mogren here, live for you at Wake Up News. This is Wake Up Wyoming for October 17th, 2017. It's 12:34 p.m. here in beautiful Alpine, Wyoming. This is take two. Apparently, it's time for me to invest in a new webcam. I don't know why it keeps acting up, but big show today. Lots going on. I don't know if you've been following the news as much as I have, but wow, there's a lot going on in the world. Top story today, we're going to get into the California wildfires and the implications of that because it's really important. The mainstream media really not talking about it. But first, I just dropped a link in there in the story. Rest in peace to Daphne Caruana Galizi, the one-woman WikiLeaks, as The Guardian called her. Recently died yesterday due to a car bomb attack in her home country of Malta. What's up, Brian? What's up, Helen Ford? Thank you all for tuning in. Try number 2. We already got 33 viewers, and we're going to get into it. What's up, Joel Cleland? Thank you so much for tuning in. Moving on to the California fires. I'm going to drop an image in there that shows what we're looking at. I don't have a powerful enough computer to do like the screencast thing. It doesn't handle it very well. But if you look at this picture of a truck, it's a picture posted by a guy named Ribs with 2 S's, and it's the caption, "My truck melted in the Northern California fires." And the situation in California is crazy, okay? Daniel Reichert, what's up? There are all these images, all these videos coming out of these really unusual anomalies with the fires, where vehicles and houses are burned to the foundation. Vehicles are completely incinerated to the extent where the aluminum alloy wheels are not only melted, but the aluminum has literally snaked along the ground and formed pools. And that's really unusual when you think about the melting point of aluminum. Even more unusual is the fact that these vehicles are occasionally, quite often actually, located right next to trees and other vegetation that hasn't been burned. Really wild stuff. I'm going to drop a few videos that I encourage people to check out too. Errol Flora, what's up? Thanks for joining. This video I just dropped in by a guy named Jerry Tony, and he makes some really good points. He's a scriptural guy, so he reads some scripture in there. Here's another video from Jerry. The second one's arguably better. He is definitely of a Christian bent. This Watchman report I just dropped into the comments, really thought-provoking, worth checking out later. But the point I'm trying to make is these fires make no sense. And, I got this book here with all the wildfire business going on. I picked up this book I have, appropriately called Wildfire, and it shows all these pictures of fires and whatnot. Big coffee table book. There's only one image I could find that even comes close to anything, in this book with hundreds of pictures of fires. There's only one image I could find that comes close to anything resembling the situation in California. That's a fire on an Indian reservation a few years ago, where you can see there are still some trees standing, still some vegetation, a house down to the foundation. But interestingly, there's a vehicle here in the picture right there, and it's not burned up at all. It's in the midst of this fire. All the vegetation, all the ground vegetation around it burned up, but you can see this vehicle looking at it. You might not have the best view, but looking at it here, that you can still see there's glass in the windows. You can see that this vehicle is not completely torched out like what we're seeing in California. So really unusual, these fires in California. I encourage people to check out these videos by Jerry Tony. I'm going to drop in another link here too to the Anthony Pat show. He's talking with Elena Freeland about directed energy weapons in use over California. And to kind of wrap my head around this, I did a little experiment here at the lab today where this is a pine bough, obviously. This is an aspen leaf. The leaves are changing here in Wyoming, so this one was already kind of brown. But I put both of these in the microwave, right? I put these in the microwave for 2 minutes each. The pine bough started, a little popped and sizzled a little, but didn't burst into flames. The pine bough, or the aspen tree, the leaves crimpled up a little, but they didn't burst into flames either. Now, what happens when you put a fork in the microwave, right? What happens when you put a piece of aluminum foil in the microwave? This gives us an idea of what could potentially be contributing to these fires in California. Of course, wildfires start, they start naturally due to lightning strikes. They start due to somebody throwing a cigarette down into some dry brush. They'll start due to, all sorts of things. But these fires in California are unlike anything that I've seen before, and I think it's important that we pay attention to this. Here's another link to the Millennium Report, California fire time photos. How does this type of fire damage even happen? It defies scientific explanation. Okay, again, crazy images. You can see them for yourself here. I'll drop another one in. There's all these images coming out of California of vehicles, where the wheels are completely gone. All the glass is gone. Bear in mind that glass melts at between 2,600 and 2,800 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're talking about extremely hot fires, right? Anybody who's read Ray Bradbury's book, Fahrenheit 451, knows that paper starts to burn at 451 degrees Fahrenheit, whereas, aluminum melts around 1,400 degrees Fahrenheit, and glass melts between 2,600 and 2,800 degrees Fahrenheit. So these vehicles that are completely torched right next to trees that still have leaves on them just doesn't make any sense. And bear in mind, like I proved today, when you put pine boughs or aspen boughs in a microwave, they do not catch fire. But if you do put a fork in the microwave, some aluminum foil in the microwave, you all know what happens, right? So the situation in California, disturbing. A lot of people have been sharing info with me about this, and a lot of these posts on social media have been taken down. Today I was looking for images, and there was one post where a man in Sonoma County had posted like 30 amazing photos, and this post had thousands and thousands and thousands of shares. I went looking for it today, and it's gone. JR Filthy said the trees are photoshopped to fool us. I don't know, man. The whole situation stinks. The whole situation really does stinks. Does stink. Here's another interesting one I'm going to put up. This is an old interview between Deborah Tavares and Jeff Rentz in 2015, April and May of 2015, where they're talking about the plan to burn up Northern California and more bad news. So that's worth looking into. That's a 2-hour interview. Interestingly, I've seen other videos where a guy in Santa Rosa was showing the evacuation zone in Santa Rosa and comparing it with a city and county planning document for a sustainable development initiative in Santa Rosa. Strangely, the evacuation zone, the perimeter of the evacuation zone and the perimeter of this sustainable development initiative are pretty much identical. So really weird. Aeroflora chiming in, Santa Rosa firestorm updates page has a lot of good images. Thank you, Era. I appreciate you tuning in and all that. Always good to hear from you. I know you were up in Oregon. Are you in California now? I can't stress it enough. These images that showcase the fires, anybody who's in that area, please go out there. If you can, if you got time, if you can stay safe, and you got a good camera or a drone, get out there and get some more evidence of this disturbing situation, because it's crazy. Also strongly encourage people that have a smartphone, if you're out there, do a panorama of the whole scene. If you see a car that's burned out and it's surrounded by green vegetation on all sides, try to do a panorama so people can see, if this car just kind of spontaneously combusted in the midst of a lot of green vegetation. It'll provide more compelling visual evidence for people. But I'm going to turn to a book I turn to all the time here called The Body Electric by Robert O. Becker, MD. Written in, you can see this is pretty well worn out because I've read it so many times. Written in 1985 by one of the pioneering researchers in the realm of electromedicine. And this was kind of the culmination of his work. After a very successful career as a researcher, all the problems, the trials and tribulations he encountered trying to do this research outside of the military. His research was repeatedly shut down. He would lose his funding and all sorts of things. I just pasted a link there to the book. And the best, if you don't have time to read a 400-page book, I strongly recommend people check out chapter 15, which starts on page 252 of the PDF file. But I just want to read some of this, again, written in 1985. And he's talking about, in chapter 15, he talks about electromagnetic weaponry being developed prior to that point in time, 32 years ago, by both the U.S. and the Russians, and experimentation that had already taken place 32 years ago in the use of electromagnetics to control people's behavior, to affect human health, and even to affect the weather. Okay? Now, this is well before cell phones, well before, the advances in computing and wireless electromagnetic technology. At the time, Wi-Fi wasn't even on the average person's radar, right? But we could go on and on in this book. I could talk about this book all day. He even talks about the use of electromagnetic fields for weather modification. But I'm going to read the closing paragraphs of chapter 15 to you, just so people can get an idea of how prophetic Robert O. Becker was and the warning he issued to humanity 32 years ago. It may be hard to convince ourselves that something we can't see, hear, touch, taste, or smell can hurt us so dreadfully. Yet the fact must be faced, just as we've learned a healthy fear of nuclear radiation. Certain scientists, some perhaps acting in a program of deliberate disinformation, keep telling the public that we still don't know whether electropollution is a threat to human health. Okay. In addition to the existence of directed energy weapons, where you could microwave a car, for example, and it would be incinerated, while at the same there's the threat of just, good old-fashioned cell phones and Wi-Fi. That's simply not true. Electropollution is a threat to human health. Certainly we need to know more, but a multitude of risks have been well documented. 1985. 3 dangers overshadow all others. The first has been conclusively proven. Electromagnetic fields vibrating at about 30 to 100 hertz, even if they're weaker than the Earth's field, interfere with the cues that keep our biological cycles properly timed. Chronic stress and impaired disease resistance result. Second, the available evidence strongly suggests the regulation of cellular growth processes is impaired by electropollution, increasing cancer rates and producing serious reproductive problems. Electromagnetic weapons constitute a third class of hazards, culminating in climactic manipulation from a sorcerer's apprentice level of ignorance. That's right. All the way back in 1985, Robert O. Becker, MD, was warning about the ability to use electromagnetic weapons to manipulate the climate. There may be other dangers less sharply defined, but no less real. All cities, by their very nature as electrical centers, are jungles of interpenetrating fields of radiation that completely drowned out the Earth's background throb. Is this an underlying reason why so many of them have become jungles in another sense as well? Is this a partial explanation for the fact that the rate of suicide between the ages of 15 and 24 rose from 5.1 per 100,000 in 1961 to 12.8 in 1981? Again, this book written in 1985. Might this be an invisible and thus overlooked reason why so many governmental leaders working at the centers of the most powerful electromagnetic networks consistently make decisions that are against the best interests of every being on Earth? Is the subliminal stress of electronic smog misinterpreted as continual threats from outside, from other people and other governments? In addition, if Teilhard de Chardin's noosphere exists, our artificial fields must mask it many times over, literally disconnecting us from life's collective wisdom. This is not to ignore the plain fact of evil, but it often seems there must be some other reason why today's power elite are so willing to bring the whole world to the brink of so many different kinds of destruction. Maybe they literally can't hear the earth anymore. And then really poignant stuff here. Everyone worries about nuclear weapons as the most serious threat to our survival. Their danger is indeed immediate and overwhelming. In the long run, however, I believe the ultimate weapon is manipulation of our electromagnetic environment because it's imperceptibly subtle and strikes at the core of life itself. We're dealing here with the most important scientific discovery ever, the nature of life. Even if we survive the chemical and atomic threats to our existence, there's a strong possibility that increasing electropollution could set in motion irreversible changes leading to our extinction before we're even aware of them. All life pulsates in time to the earth, and our artificial electromagnetic fields cause abnormal reactions in all organisms. Magnetic reversals may have produced the great dyings of the past. That's when the magnetic pole would flip. By disrupting biocycles so as to cause stress, sterility, birth defects, malignancies, and impaired brain function. Human activities may well have duplicated in 3 decades what otherwise would have taken 5,000 years to develop during the next electromagnetic field reversal. What will we do if the incidence of deformed children rises to 50%? If the cancer rate climbs to 75%? Will we be able to pull the plug? Good question. Interestingly, in this book, he also mentions autism being affected by electromagnetic fields. Now, since 1981, the rate of autism has gone from 1 in 10,000 American youth to 1 in 50. Or I think, is it 50? Somebody got an exact statistic on that. It's hard to keep all the figures straight in the world today. Somehow, the dangers of electromagnetic pollution must be brought into the open so forcefully that the entire population of the world is made aware of them. Scientists must begin to ask and seek answers to the questions raised in this chapter, regardless of the effect on their careers. These energies are too dangerous to be entrusted forever to politicians, military leaders, and their lapdog researchers. Since our civilization is irreversibly dependent on electronics, abolition of EMR is out of the question. However, as a first step toward averting disaster, we must halt the introduction of new sources of electromagnetic energy while we investigate the biohazards of those we already have with a completeness and honesty that have so far been in short supply. New sources of EMR must be allowed only after their risks have been evaluated on the basis of the knowledge acquired in such a moratorium. He goes on and on with an adequately, he talks about different research programs. He goes on, he makes a very compelling point here. And then closing paragraph. Obviously, given the present techno-military control of society in most parts of the world, such sane efficiency will be immensely difficult to achieve. Nevertheless, we must try. Electromagnetic energy presents us with the same imperative as nuclear energy. Our survival depends on the ability of upright scientists and other people of goodwill to break the military-industrial death grip on our policy-making institutions. So powerful words from Robert O. Becker, MD, 1985, pioneering researcher in the field of biomedicine, right? He was the guy that figured out that if you hurt yourself, you can put a little machine on there and zap yourself to make yourself heal faster. Daniel Reichert saying, I'm throwing my phone off the next bridge. People, all good points. Ava Child's asking, is that why they insist on installing smart meters? I think so, Ava, or Ava, pardon me if I mispronounced your name. And interestingly, I have to say, I spent some time living in Sonoma County when I was working with Mike Rupert. And compared to the rest of the United States, the people there are much more aware of this kind of thing. All the way back in 2011, when I was there, people had signs up on the side of the road that said, refuse smart meter, tell PG&E to shove it, basically, right? Because they were trying to roll out smart meters there. Now, I have a smart meter on my house here, right? I've called the local utility company, and they think I'm crazy that I want a normal meter back, because lo and behold, I don't want this Wi-Fi enabled device directly hardwired into my electricity supply, to the extent where even if, let's say I wanted to be safe, right? So I get rid of my smartphone, get rid of my Wi-Fi, try to do everything I can to minimize my exposure to electromagnetic radiation. Even if I kill the power to my house, even if I shut off the main breaker, that smart meter is still powered up. So it's pretty wild. And yeah, that's it. So, I don't know exactly what we're going to do here, but the key thing is to keep raising awareness on these issues, because, what else do we got? Again, we're talking about this because of the California firestorm affecting Napa and Sonoma counties mostly. What do they do up there? Well, they grow a lot of weed. They grow a lot of wine. And arguably, it's like the incubator, that region of the country truly is like the incubator for the new paradigm of sustainable, relocalized agriculture. It's literally a Garden of Eden out there. Right? You can grow anything. When I was working with Mike, we took over this little 2-acre farm, and there were old apple trees on the property. There was already a really nice garden. We were basically able to eat off of this 2 acres, and it was awesome. Now what's happening, the one area in the country where people are most aware of geoengineering, the dangers of electropollution, and literally building the new paradigm. Of course, they're also growing weed, which cures cancer, among other things. So it stands to reason that if somebody was going to attack the United States with directed energy weapons, if the powers that be, or the New World Order, or whoever wanted to slap Americans around a little bit, that Napa and Sonoma counties would be a great place to play with their little toys. Well, not little toys, big toys, right? Again, to understand how this works, I did a little thought experiment for myself today, because all this imagery from California, these really disturbing, strange images, you can watch a bunch of videos. There's pictures all over the internet where there'll be cars that are completely destroyed, where the aluminum from the wheels, or whatever kind of alloy the wheels are made out of, has literally melted to the extent where it's pooled out and flowed like a river across the blacktop. And then just a few feet away from that car, there will be trees that still have leaves on them. Again, today, to kind of wrap my head around this concept, I put this pine bough and this aspen bough in the microwave, nuked them for a couple minutes, and they didn't burst into flames. Whereas we all realize what would happen if you put a fork in the microwave, right? Interestingly, on topic, coming out of the San Jose Mercury just today, I believe, or yesterday, Governor Jerry Brown has, Governor Jerry Brown, he's not doing much on geoengineering stuff, but it's interestingly, he's vetoed a bill backed by the cell phone industry that would have made it easier to install microwave radiation antennas. Okay, in the midst of this electromagnetic pollution fiasco all over our country, what do the cell phone companies want to do? They want to roll out 5G. 5G. It's even faster. Don't worry, you guys will be able to stream your porno even faster on your smartphone, but it might kill you too. And in the event of like civil unrest or a civil war, it's probably going to cook your ass and maybe burn your house down. I don't know. But yeah, so Jerry Brown standing up against the cell phone companies temporarily. I don't know if it's going to really make a difference in the long run. Interestingly, too, here I'm going to paste in some, people talk about Agenda 21 coming out of New Republic. They're asking the question, should we rebuild homes in wildfire zones today? Interestingly, the picture they use while they're, blaming climate change for fires, they're never going to look at, geoengineering or directed energy weapons. But the picture they post there is their featured image on this page. I just dropped that in there. Shows these cars utterly torched, these homes down to the foundations, and then literally between two houses that are totally gone, there are trees that still have leaves on them. Kind of gets you scratching your head if you look at things with an analytical mind. Also, the London Review of Books coming out with a similar article today. You know, they'll blame climate change. They'll say, oh, we shouldn't rebuild these communities in these areas where there are where there's a risk of wildfires. And that kind of goes with the Agenda 21 green development initiative, right? They don't want people out there on the boundary of the forest. They don't want the average American citizen to be able to take care of themselves. They want people packed into cities where they're getting zapped by things like cell phones, Wi-Fi, smart meters continuously, and completely dependent on the food supply, right? Again, this image posted on Imgur by a guy named Ribs pretty much sums it up. Thank you all for tuning in. JR Filthy says they just want the land. And Stephen Stewart chiming in, most of us are watching this on a cell phone, right? It's a dilemma. It's a paradox. You know, it's like, think about it. Without the internet, without this technology, we'd be stuck reading the newspaper. We wouldn't be able to communicate with one another at this level, right? I got 141 people watching me while I'm trying to share this information with you. Without this technology, we'd be using this. And Lord knows the newspaper is full of shit, right? So I guess we're kind of stuck with this stuff. We have to be aware. We can't, you know, if you all want to go run off into the woods with me and we like start a new civilization, I don't think it's going to work out very well. So I don't know what the solution is. I don't know exactly what to say, but I'd say we all need to like limit our exposure to these things. You don't want to use your cell phone as your alarm clock, right? If you can get off the grid, like if you can get away from the smart meters, get away from the electrical grid, and live an existence where you could provide your own power, it's probably a good idea. You know, I think that's something we should all be pushing for, because bottom line, these technologies are going to keep rolling out, and they're going to keep becoming more pervasive in people's lives. And as Robert O. Becker warned us all the way back in 1985, they can kill your ass. Not just by, you know, starting a wildfire, but through long-term exposure to these things, right? Really pisses me off. I hope it pisses you off too. We could get all depressed and scared and worried about this, or we could speak our minds and try to make the world a better place. I think we should probably do the latter. Interestingly, if you haven't followed the news about Morgellons disease, speaking of weird, you know, strange diseases, Joni Mitchell, the famous folk singer, coming from the Microsoft Network Entertainment section of all places, Joni Mitchell says her battle with the rare Morgellons disease makes her feel like she's being eaten alive. Okay, this is all part of the same thing. You know, up until recently, if you said you had Morgellons, if you had weird fibers coming out of your skin, they would say you were suffering from delusional parasitosis, right? Even if you had, you know, red and blue and white and black filaments literally coming out of your skin like hair that defy any easy explanation, the official response from the American Medical Association was that you were delusional. Well, legendary singer-songwriter Joni Mitchell opens up about her private world and why she has shied away from the spotlight in the new biography, Reckless Daughter, a portrait of Joni Mitchell by David Yaffe. According to a Daily Mail report, Mitchell, 73, reveals her battle with Morgellons disease, a mysterious illness, in her new book, due October 17th. Quoting Mitchell, "I have this weird, incurable disease that seems like it's from outer space," she says of her illness. Morgellons is a slow, unpredictable killer, a terrorist disease. Interesting use of words there by Joni Mitchell. It will blow up one of your organs, leaving you in bed for a year. Fibers in a variety of colors protrude out of my skin like mushrooms after a rainstorm. They cannot be forensically identified as animal, vegetable, or mineral. Okay, so I dropped that link in there. Mitchell also reveals in the book that she sometimes wouldn't wear clothing because she felt like she was being eaten alive, and that the disease left her confined to her house for several years. There's controversy in the medical world about Morgellons, described by the Mayo Clinic as an uncommon, unexplained skin disorder characterized by sores, crawling sensations on and under the skin, and fiber-like filaments emerging from the sores. It is not acknowledged as a disease by some health professionals. The Centers for Disease Control, for example, CDC, for example, notes that the signs and symptoms of Morgellons are very similar to those of a mental illness involving false beliefs about infestation by parasites, delusional parasitosis. So heart goes out to Joni Mitchell dealing with this horrible disease. I'm sure some of you have experiences with this. I'd love to hear about it if you have. Yeah. And just in case you think the government's going to protect you from things like Morgellons, from things like electromagnetic pollution, non-ionizing radiation, I don't think they're even trying to protect us from ionizing radiation. Coming from Bloomberg.com yesterday, EPA says higher radiation levels pose no harmful health effect. EPA says that the protective level from ionizing radiation is 10 times higher than that set under Obama. Trump administration guidelines may be a prelude to easier rules. In the event of a dirty bomb or a nuclear meltdown, emergency responders can safely tolerate radiation levels equivalent to thousands of chest x-rays, the EPA said in new guidelines that ease off established safety levels. The EPA's determination sets a level 10 times the drinking water standard for radiation recommended under President Obama. It could lead to the administration of President Donald Trump weakening radiation safety levels, watchdog groups critical of the move say. Okay, the article goes on and on. That's coming from Bloomberg. So, yeah, great. Thanks, EPA. Thanks, government, for protecting us from everything, right? Again, what else have we got going on here? I guess I could get into the paper here. I've got lots of, the big thing today to cover was the California fires. Let's take a look at the Jackson Hole Daily, even though they don't really cover much worth our consideration. The Department of Transportation is telling the employees in Yellowstone they need to register their vehicles. La-di-da. Somebody shot a wolf. I guess there's one article here that's interesting, but it's hard to, when you're dealing with like the California wildfires and the potential that they were started with directed energy weapons, that kind of trumps all the nonsense in the world. No surprises here for local folks. The cost of living index climbs in Teton County against the Wyoming average. Teton County's cost of living continues to separate itself from the rest of Wyoming, according to the state's Economic Analysis Division, which has released its biannual report of Living Cost Index. The report says the cost of living in Teton County is 46% more expensive than the next most expensive county, Sublet, and 54% more expensive than the statewide average. So what's that mean? It costs 54% more to live in Teton County than anywhere else in Wyoming. Teton County was 32% more expensive than the statewide average in 2013, 31% in 2014, 35% in 2015, and 50% in 2016. Now it's up 4% in the last year. So no big surprise there. There's more stats, but, it's something we already know. The billionaires, the whole world is in shambles. The media is a joke. Our political class is totally corrupt. Corporate oligarchy ruling the world. And the few people, the elite couple people that have managed to accumulate billions of dollars, what do? Well, one, they move to a place like Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where they can enjoy their spending their money in relative peace and also avoid, paying taxes, state income tax. And two, they build themselves 10, 15, 20, 30, $100 million houses. So kudos to the billionaires. You're a bunch of clowns. Shame on you, right? Literally one billionaire. Let's do a little math here. Let's say that the average investigative journalist could live off of $33,000 per year and devote all of their energies and efforts to, I don't know, the truth for $33,000 a year. That means you could get 3 investigative journalists working full-time for $100,000, right? Now, if let's say someone's got $1 billion. They got 1,000 times $1 million. Okay? And this is some complicated math here, so excuse me while I scratch my head. But if you can get 3 investigative journalists working full-time, busting their asses, and actually pretty stoked because they're making literally 100 times more money off $33,000 a year than they were before. For $1 million, your average billionaire, $1 million investment could hire a team of 3 times 100. Is that right? No, 3 times 10. They could hire 30 investigative journalists to bust their asses full-time year-round for $1 million annually. But instead, they're going to sit in their mansions, drinking their Campari, watching the world burn. So I got no love for you billionaires. And if shit ever hits the fan, I'll see you then. What else we got going on? Oh, they put some green roofs on some affordable housing. There's a big debate over parking and traffic. That's real important because Lord knows that the only thing that matters is making Jackson Hole as comfortable as possible for the billionaires. Nicholas D. Kristof of the New York Times went to North Korea, and he said, it's interesting, being on the ground in a country lets you see things and absorb their power. The speakers on the walls of homes to feed propaganda. The pins that every adult wears with portraits of members of the Kim family. The daily power outages, but also signs that the economy is growing despite international sanctions, the hardening of attitudes since my last visit in 2005, and the bizarre confidence that North Korea can not only survive a nuclear war with the U.S., but also emerge as a victor. A visit humanizes North Korea, who outside the country sometimes come across as robots. In person, you are reminded that just like the rest of us, they laugh, flirt, worry, love, and yearn to impress. I left North Korea fearing that we are far too complacent about the risk of a cataclysmic war that could kill millions. And that's why reporting from within North Korea is crucial. There simply is no substitute for being in a place. So good to see somebody in the mainstream humanizing North Koreans. Historically, when you want to kill a bunch of people, you dehumanize them, right? In World War II, the Japanese, they started calling them, I'm not even going to say the word. They started using these horrible words. If you've never seen a newspaper from during World War II, it's amazing what they passed as journalism then. If there's anything that gives me a little hope, it's the fact that the mainstream media is not able to get away with near as much shit as they used to. So that's pretty cool. Robert Samuelson telling us a recession will come. A new recession will come, and new ideas must come with it. Okay, what's the solution he's calling for? Is the government printing more money, gifting it to the government, the Federal Reserve, private profit-driven bank, printing more money, giving it to the government, giving it to the big banks, business as usual, the quantitative easing program. He says we just got to let it continue. Of course, he cites the standard statistics about inflation, right? They say inflation's running at about 2%. But if you look at, for example, the housing prices in the U.S., what's it running at? Does anybody know? Somebody hit me up here. Let's see. House prices rise 5% in a year. More bad news for would-be buyers, right? So if house prices are going up about 5% annually, that ain't 2% inflation. That's 5% inflation. So, yeah. Goes on and on. Here's actually a good quote. You know, this is some lady, some dirt pimp at selling land, but she's got a good quote in her ad to get you thinking there. I'm not promoting Jackson Hole Real Estate or Christie's Great Estates, but I like her quote. If you can solve your problem, then what is the need of worrying? If you cannot solve it, then what is the use of worrying? From some Eastern-sounding mystic there. Of course, Teton County Public Health taking out a big ad campaign telling everybody to get their flu shot. Don't miss a face shot. Get a flu shot. No thanks, but appreciate y'all trying to poison us with aluminum and mercury and other weird things that happen to be in these shots. You know, I'm no doctor, but I'm not going to let somebody stick me with a needle unless I know exactly what's in that puppy and I know that it works, right? There's a lot of evidence showing that some of these vaccines are really bad for you, and they don't actually help you in any way. A Wyoming woman will serve 4 years of probation for giving a marijuana gummy to her daughter in order to calm the child down. Probably a bad idea. You know, don't get the kids started on the gummies. Real dumb. And in other kind of fun news, you know, again, the mainstream media, pretty distracting. But every once in a while they come up with something that gets me giggling. Prosecutors have dropped a misdemeanor charge against a Utah woman accused of using eye drops to secretly poison her husband. Police say they later found 11 empty boxes of eye drops, 10 empty bottles, and 6 unopened boxes of the eye drops. Okay, if you've never been Visine, if you never had somebody put that shit in your drink at the bar, wow, that's a great way to put somebody on their ass. Explosive diarrhea. Okay. National and international, we got more divisiveness. Trump is the divider in chief. If you're worried about Trump, you should find something else to think about, because everything about this man is intentionally divisive. Blah, blah, blah. He's calling people out. Yeah, whatever. And then more distractions. You know, we live in an era where Puerto Ricans are without food. We live with no water, no food, no electricity. They're being starved off of their island, so a bunch of corporations can move there. Billionaires can have tax havens. California's on fire. There's evidence of directed energy weapons being used, geoengineering chemicals littering the sky. But, of course, the Jackson Hole Daily, we're going to devote a half page to the 10 Commandments. Should we keep them up? Should we take them down? Who really cares? Not me and not you either. But that's how the mainstream media works. It's called a distraction. California wildfires, winds are down, more than 40 people killed, 5,000 plus structures destroyed. Luckily, they're getting some of these fires under control. So that's good. Silver lining. But again, these fires, really unusual. Caruana Galizi, the journalist in Malta. It's cool that the Jackson Hole Daily's covering her. It's true. Journalists are targeted. You know, if you go after people, especially if you get real specific with who you're going after, they might kill your ass. With the rest of us, maybe we just get zapped with our smartphones, smart meters, and all that. Remember, what does SMART stand for? Self-monitoring and recording technologies. As expected, stock market's at all-time record highs due to the easy money policies of the Fed. And here's one that's kind of interesting. Here we go. I got it at Ars Technica. It came out 2 days ago. Jackson Hole Daily picking it up today. A serious flaw in the security protocol for Wi-Fi allows attackers to intercept passwords and much more. So that's kind of a bummer. There's one more reason to get off Wi-Fi. You know, I'm on a laptop here, but I got a hardline connection. Like I said, shut your phone off. Try not to use the Wi-Fi. Get out in nature if you can. But, yeah. So, I don't know. Probably better to hardline your communications if you can. And then we're into the celebrity news. We're going to get to horoscopes there in a bit. Again, Teton County, Wyoming, it costs 54% more than the rest of Wyoming to live there. That's why I live in Star Valley, beautiful Lincoln County, Wyoming, just south of there. If anybody listening to this wants to get to a more natural state, you seriously like the cold weather, and the wilderness, hit me up. I might be able to help you get your feet under you here in Northwest Wyoming. You know, probably a good idea to surround ourselves with other people who are like-minded. Granny basketball sweeping the nation. Just lovely. I encourage everybody to stay active, stay healthy. So, yeah, if you want to play granny basketball, by all means, do it. Then we're into the sports. What's his name? Aaron Rodgers is hurt. Of course, they're not going to hire Colin Kaepernick because he's too controversial. Looking at the classified ads, like I said, anybody wants to get to a more natural state. No shortage of jobs up here in the Tetons, but good luck finding an affordable place to live. Even here in Lincoln County, that's where I might be able to help you. But we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages of classified ads. Of course, no affordable places to live listed there. And now, with 97 viewers, as we go into the 45th minute of our broadcast, we're finally to the moment you've all been waiting for, the horoscopes. Again, I don't really put that much stock in horoscopes. I'm no occultist. I'm no astrologer, but I read the scopes to y'all because it's in the paper. I read the whole paper, trying to work through this. But first and foremost, I have to say thank you. Wow. Have I had a great week. Despite all the bad news in the world, you know, I had set my mind to something. I'm going to make a career of doing these live streams of my journalism. I'm going to spend hours and hours every day researching, try to distill it into a format that's not super pessimistic, gives people a little hope, informs people, and is fun. Build some community, talk to some great people, and that's where you all come in. So thank you so much for tuning in. Big thanks to my Patreon supporters, Brian Peterson, David Coco Rico Sedano, Zachary Coons at Wake Up News, Evan Simpson, and now, yesterday in the middle of the night, Irene Lyon from BC, from Vancouver, has ponied up a whopping $288 a month to support this show. And I have nothing. I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful. It just makes me want to redouble my efforts to do an even better job here for you at Wake Up Wyoming. So thank you so much, Irene. Everybody else, also Jill in Montana for donating via PayPal. It really helps. You know, I don't want, you know, as the world burns, I'm not trying to make a bunch of money, but I don't want to get another slave job. But I also don't want to go broke because we're stuck within the system. So if I can find a way to, like, make a few bucks, make enough money to live off of, maybe do some traveling, go out to places like California and document these wildfires, go to places like Las Vegas in the wake of the shooting, or, you know, islands affected by hurricanes, whatever. I would love to do that. I would love to be your roving reporter going around stirring the pot, raising awareness all over the planet if possible. And if you want to help, bam, right there in the comments, that's my Patreon page. You know, yeah, now I'm getting about $300 a month in support, and that's huge. After Patreon takes their cut, I'm at $300 dead even. The dog, I'm going to grab the dog because she's so cute. You know, I got to keep dog even. We'll throw the dog in there to get some more people to pony up. If you don't help, what's the dog going to eat, right? We could be out on the street and this poor little dog is going to die. And now we're probably going to be all right. But, like I said, to wake up in the morning and check my email and find that somebody likes my work enough that they're willing to put a couple $100 a month towards it, I mean, that makes me feel good. That gives me hope in humanity. And it makes me feel like I'm really having a positive impact on everybody who's paying attention. So thank you. On that note, sorry for the spiel, but hey, Mog got to eat, got to stay fed, got to keep the thing growing. And really, how are we going to replace the corrupt, you know, the corrupt media establishment, corrupt media personalities if we can't make a living at it? On that note, we're into the scopes. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know what you want to hear. Daniel Reichert, tired of that. Freedom of the press, blah, blah, blah. Great job. Thank you, Ava. Arrow, Flora, big heart. Love you so much. Cameron St. John asking, is that a rock wall over your bed? Yes, indeed it is. Daniel Reichert saying, Max, we have to funnel more money your way. It ain't going to hurt. But like I said, not just me, but think about it. Okay. There's 300 million Americans. If every American citizen picked out the 10 independent journalists that they like best and gave each of them $1, what would happen? We'd have a new media. We'd be able to, so many people would be able to devote so much more of their time and effort and energy, and they would have such, everybody wants to feel important. Everybody wants to feel like they're doing something, like they're actually having an impact on people, and that would do it. Because, sadly, we live in the world where, what did the Wu-Tang Clan say? Cash rules everything around me, right? We live in a world that's run by money, and if you ain't got no money, you got no car, you got no girl, and there you are. Again, how am I going to do high-tech scientific experiments like nuking pine boughs and aspen leaves if I don't have a well-stocked laboratory at my disposal? But into the scopes. Sorry, I'm just talking mad shit. David Coco Rico Sedano, thanks, bro. I appreciate that. Again, anybody listening to this, if you need someone to talk to me. Hit me up. Share your story with me. It's been so great. In addition to people that have really connected with on here, I've had so many people reach out to me and say, wow, I appreciate your energy. I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate you really trying to get the message out there. And I was even trying to get the phone lines going today. I do have, somebody said, get a landline phone. I got one here. I was hoping to get the phone lines going today, but having some problems with connectivity there. So hopefully within the next couple of days, we'll be able to take your calls live on the air. And that's going to be pretty fun. Okay. Scopes. Chrissy Hoskins saying, contact me. All right. I'm going to pin that comment. So I do. Again, I try to read all your comments every day too. But, after spending 4 or 5 hours in front of the computer, I'm pretty well cooked. I don't know why. Shannon Wandrix looking for Libra. Let's get it going here. The scopes. 3-star day, Shannon. Much might be going on behind the scenes. You have stayed mum for a while, but this behavior might have left you feeling irrelevant, which might not be true. Don't be surprised that suddenly you cannot contain yourself any longer. Tonight, Shannon, indulge yourself, and you're not irrelevant. You're very important to very many people. So don't forget that. Brian Peterson looking for Aries. So polite there with the please. Must be that Midwestern, Minnesota nice you got going on there, Brian. Good chatting with you the other day. You're having a 4-star day. I hope all is well with you, brother. A matter involving a child or creative project could drag you down in the morning. Maybe that's some Bob Ross painting. Know that you have the wherewithal and strength to get past the problem. You do. Once you regain your sense of humor, all will flow. Clearly, a dear friend or loved one cares far more than you realize. Tonight, play it by ear. So, Brian, shoot for the moon, so on and so forth. Maurice Graves, I respect your hustle too, brother. Thank you. Chrissy Hoskins, what's up? Am I religious? Yeah, a little bit, but not crazy. I went to Catholic school. I was raised Catholic. I went Catholic all the way up through college. And, Jesus is my homeboy, but I'm not, I don't know. I'm not very preachy. And I read the scopes just for fun. Sagittarius for Claudia Hormon. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Sagittarius coming at you. 3-star day. Pressure builds. However, your judgments about what you need to do are the source of this tension. Revisit these judgments with the aid of a helpful friend who views life differently from you. Your mental outlook could change if you are open. Tonight, meet up with a friend, Claudia. Staff Citizens Dawn asking, why can't I comment? I don't know. And that's a good point there. If anybody comments a bunch, let's say you wanted me to read your scope or you had some good comments, you shared some links, but I didn't respond to it. Number one, a lot of the comments don't show up. I don't know why, but they don't show up until after the broadcast. Even then, even if I look through the unfiltered comments, it still doesn't show me every comment. I don't know why. So keep trying to comment if you can't. Daniel Reichert, thanks, bro. Appreciate you. Call and show, yes. We're going to get that going. Angie Perez looking for Leo, the Lions, the ladies that have always got my heart tied up in knots. You're having a 4-star day, Angie. Hold on to your wallet, or it might walk off. you still might experience a wobble in your checkbook, perhaps even provoked by you. I've been there before. Detach and try to understand what's going on. You have the power to change your patterns. We all do. Tonight, out and about, meeting with a dear friend. So have fun with that, Angie. Michael Dixon asked me, have I ever been beat by a nun? You know, I'm getting pretty old. I'm 36 now, but I was there a little after the era when the nuns were whapping people with rulers and stuff. I have to say, you know, I went to some great Catholic schools. They taught me some great things. I definitely got a much better education than I would have gotten in the public schools in my hometown, and I had a great time. And they really didn't bash the whole "you're going to go to hell" thing into my head. So that was nice of them too. Shannon, I know you're not irrelevant either, and I can barely contain myself as it is. Rebellion ready here? Yeah, girl. Get some. Angie Perez, you got your Leo already. Thanks for trying there again. Jason Eisenhart, what's up, bro? Thank you for tuning in. As always, I really appreciate the links you've been sending to me. Anybody else wants to send links, keep them coming. Jason looking for Virgo, so here we go. 4-star day, Jason. You keep hitting a certain roadblock. This time, try another approach, and you'll discover how easily you can hop right over this issue. Your energy can now be focused and untethered. You might even amaze yourself with what you accomplish. Tonight, Jason Eisenhart, time to let go. You know, that horoscope gives a really good point there that I just want to touch on briefly. One thing I found in my own life, my own experience, is it's so easy to get caught up in our own bullshit. It's so easy to get downtrodden or depressed or not see a way out of a situation that's bad. And it's amazing how just talking with somebody else, just sharing your story with somebody else, they'll come up with some idea that's like obvious. You know, oftentimes they'll have like the most simple, easy solution that helps you realize, A, your predicament you were in really isn't that big a deal, or B, they're able to think outside your own little box you put yourselves in, and they give you an idea. It's just like, oh, yeah, duh, why didn't I think of that? Problem solved. Then do it. Get out of it. Becca Lou, Rattler Martinez, looking for Pisces. Let's go, fish people. 5-star day for you, Becca Lou. One-on-one relating takes you down a new path. However, first check in with several different people you respect to get their feedback. What you are hearing could be helpful in making a solid decision. A partner becomes angry out of the blue. Tonight, enjoy the company of a dear friend. Staff Citizens Dawn, looking for Aries. Of course I can do Aries for you. And I will check out citizensdawn.org for your citizen journalism. Go ahead and add me as a friend, will you, Staff Citizens Dawn? I'd add you. Well, here, I'm going to open your profile. There. Okay, moving along. Aries coming at you, the Ram. And then Jerry, I'll get into Scorps after that. Thank you for tuning in, as always, Jerry. And Staff Citizens Dawn, nice to see you. Never seen you before. 4-star day, Aries. A matter involving a child or creative project could drag you down in the morning. Know that you have the wherewithal and strength to get past the problem. Once you regain your sense of humor, all will flow. Clearly, a dear friend or loved one cares far more than you realize. Tonight, play it by ear. I read that one for Brian Peterson already, too. Brian, I should remember your scope by now. Jerry Wallace into the Scorps. Thank you, as always, for tuning in, Jerry. 4-star day for the Scorps. Use care around finances. You express some unusual yet excellent ideas. You have a strong sense of direction, knowing who to network with or call. Be spontaneous, yet use care with an angry or overly assertive person. You could experience a backfire. Tonight, Jerry, get some extra R&R. And Chad Man, looking for corporate Capricorn. Here we go. 4-star day for you, Chad Man. 4 stars. In some context, you could be working against yourself. I know that feeling. No matter what you try to do, you cannot convince a friend or group of the rightness of a plan. You might opt to head down that path without the support you want. Tonight, take responsibility for your plans. Jerry Wallace chiming in. My daughter is a Sagittarius, and last time you said a 5-star, she broke her foot. So sorry, Jerry. Like I said, I don't really buy into the scopes. But at the same time, reading these, sometimes there's a little pearls of wisdom and knowledge in there, and it's kind of fun. Matt DeRoche asking, does your boxing bag always move on its own? I don't know, man. Am I on a boat? Is the boat rocking? Are there ghosts? What's going on here? Strange, right? Got to keep you all tuned in with a little mystery once in a while. David Cocarigo, enjoy your nap. What's up, Paul Christofferson? Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, Staff Citizens Dawn. Excuse me. Got a little cold. Max Mogren on Facebook. MAXMOGREN. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Wake Up Wyoming. In addition to thanking my Patreon subscribers and my supporter via PayPal, Jill in Montana. Thank you so much. We're 100% independent in the sense that we don't have any corporate funding, but we are viewer and listener supported. So thank you. I want to thank Lindsay Dyer for having me on her podcast yesterday. We live streamed the interview, her podcast. You know, we actually did about 3 hours worth of interviews. Great chatting with her. It was an honor to be on a podcast with such an inspiring and well-known female backcountry skier. So big props to Lindsay Dyer. Check out her podcast, Showing Up. Episode 1 of her podcast was her interviewing the incredible rock climber, the incredible free soloist Alex Honnold. So wow, to be interviewed by her shortly after interviewing Alex Honnold makes me feel like I'm doing something right. Just like having all of you tune in here at Wake Up Wyoming. So check out her podcast if you want. Also check out some of those videos I posted in the comments today about the wildfires in California. It's crazy, right? I try to find sources. It's interesting. You know, you go looking for stuff on the internet, and there'll be somebody talking about the California wildfires, and it all makes sense. And then you realize that they're also a flat earther. It's just like, what's going on here? What's with this flat earth thing? It drives me crazy. As if, you know, quid pro bono, who benefits from lying to humanity about the nature of our planet, right? I'm pretty sure it's round. I don't know. It could be wrong, but pretty sure it's round. Paul Christofferson, you helped me with the hay spreading at Standing Rock? Yeah, bro. Add me as a friend if we're not friends already. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for your help spreading hay at Standing Rock, too. The Ocheti Oyate Road crew going strong. David Cocarico Sedano says, I'm a corporation of awesomeness. Yeah, I guess you're right there, David. You are awesome, but also, you know, legally, unfortunately, we're all corporations, according to the state, right? That's why they spell your name in all caps. Once your mom signs that birth certificate, yeah. Michael Dixon asking, am I a skier at Jackson Hole? Yeah, definitely. I've been backcountry skiing quite a bit. And using those opportunities, getting out in nature as a time for reflection. You know, I don't really ski the ski resort. I haven't had a pass to the ski resort in about 10 years, but I'll go out and spend about 3-4 hours climbing up a mountain, getting a great workout, taking the dog for a heck of a walk, getting way away from all the technology, way away from all the bullshit of the world, and just take that opportunity to do a little meditation, right? Not necessarily clearing my mind entirely, but taking myself outside my own stream of consciousness and observing, seeing what's going on. Encourage all of you to do the same, right? Meditation, you don't need to you don't need to be up on some mountaintop in the lotus position doing the woo-doo-doo-doo. You just need to be aware of what's going on in your head, be aware of your thoughts, your emotions, and don't let it get you down. So, thank you so much for tuning in. Your boy Mog, telling you stay active, stay aware, stay optimistic, fight the power, be the new media, and take care of yourselves and the ones you love. I'm signing off for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks again for everybody that supported my work, whether you're sharing this, whether you're liking it, whether you're commenting, so on and so forth. Appreciate it. One love. Peace.